aging sewer pipes that run under the Red in South Winnipeg. And so far, almost 100 Olympic-sized swimming pools worth of untreated sewage has run into the Red River. And the city says they temporarily stopped the leak, but it started up again when one of the backup pumps failed. They also say that on Wednesday night, a second pump was installed to handle the flow of the sewer system. James Bezan is the MP for Selkirk, Interlake, Eastman, and represents people all around Lake Winnipeg's South Basin where the sewage is heading. Bezan spoke with Marjorie Dowhos yesterday, and she started by asking him what his reaction is to the leak.
Well, I was shocked when I learned of it. It was brought to my attention online, and then, of course, been following this in the media ever since, and was disappointed that I never was contacted by the federal government, by the provincial government, or even the city that this had happened. And I'm really upset that the volume of raw sewage that has been dumped into our beautiful Lake Winnipeg and in the North Red has not been addressed by the federal government in any of this. Justin Trudeau and the Liberals have been missing in action.
You represent the communities that are north of Winnipeg here along the river. What are your concerns about the impact that this could have on them?
So we're talking about, millions of liters of raw sewage that is going into a lake that right now is very low, that the flow down the Red River is very slow, and we're going to see this pollution have major impacts on our fishery. It'll definitely contribute to increased algae blooms this coming summer if we have another hot summer like we did last year. And ultimately, this also impacts upon a lot of the rural communities along Lake Winnipeg that use the lake as their primary source of drinking water. And that is dangerous to say the least. But again, if you look at our fishery, both from a recreational standpoint and our commercial inland fishery that has had just a phenomenal year so far this year, this will have long-lasting impacts on the health of the fish. And ultimately, the federal government, under both Department of Fisheries and Oceans and under Environment Canada, have the power to intercede here. It's not just about handing out fines and penalties. It's about assisting the city of Winnipeg and getting this up and running so that we can protect the fishery, the water quality, and ultimately Lake Winnipeg long term. Lake Winnipeg are monitoring the situation closely.
What questions do you have about the extent of this leak or how long it's been going on for?
Well, I'm very concerned that, they knew that these pipes are old, that this goes back to 1970 when these were originally installed. And you would think that, there would have been discussions, and I hope there's been discussions between the city of Winnipeg, the province, and the Trudeau government about using programs for infrastructure. You look at some of the programs that we have under the Government of Canada, they're specifically laid out there to help with municipal infrastructure to limit pollution, to protect water quality, to reduce the amount of nutrients that are pumped out through the effluent that comes from municipalities when they discharge their lagoons. And I think when you look at this situation, and maybe a lot of people haven't realized yet that this isn't the normal emergency discharge out of the North End water treatment facility. This is raw sewage that is flowing directly into the lake, and has been going on now for coming on to 4+ weeks, or 2+ weeks, I should say. It's been really flowing since February the 7th, is my understanding, and there's been very little done in the way to stop it. And actually, if you look at the original problem, was identified back in November when they found the first small leak in the first pipe, and then they transferred everything over into the second line, which couldn't handle the flow and ultimately burst.
How do you think then the city and the province should be held accountable for this leak?
Well, I think that, the federal government should first and foremost be on the scene assisting with stopping it. There is no doubt that, if this had happened accidentally, there is the ability to claim underneath both the Fisheries Act, as well as under the Environmental Protection Act, that they weren't responsible for the discharge of deleterious substances, even though it wasn't permitted. I think that they can get around that, but at the same time, I believe that everybody downstream, whether it's on the North Red or in Lake Winnipeg, deserves answers. There needs to be transparency here of how this happened. Why weren't these pipes replaced in a timely manner and allowed this type of environmental degradation?
We've heard from Winnipeg leaders that have been saying that for a long time, that the city has aging infrastructure, that they need more help from all levels of government to address the shortfalls and to help rebuild that infrastructure. So what role do you believe the federal government should play in that?
Well, there's definitely a funding level that is required there. And, it's about one is prioritization by the city and the province to make this a necessary action. As long as I've been a member of Parliament, we've always been asking the city of Winnipeg to make the upgrades to their sewage systems and their wastewater systems a priority. And I believe that we're starting to see that happen now with the mayor and council. But it's going to cost a lot of money. But this is the price you have to pay to have a first-class wastewater and sewage system that will protect our environment. And Lake Winnipeg has been the dumping ground for not just the city of Winnipeg, but municipalities up and down the watershed that covers, 4 provinces and 3 U.S. states all flow north into Lake Winnipeg. And we have been for far too long calling on governments at all levels.
Now, in a statement that you issued about this sewage leak, you said that Canada's Conservatives have long fought to keep our waterways, lakes, and oceans free from untreated sewage. But as we heard from leaders north of Winnipeg, this isn't the first time. This has been happening for years, and they've been seeing it happen over and over again. What would the Conservatives do to prevent this from happening again, or to protect those communities from what's being dumped here in Winnipeg?
No, I can tell you that when we were government, we tried very hard with the city of Winnipeg at that time to upgrade their north end water treatment facility, which wasn't a priority for them at that time, and nor the provincial government of the day at that time as well, which was unfortunate. But it takes, all parties have to come to the table and be prepared to, have the dollars in their pocket to make this happen. I look at, cities like Selkirk, municipalities like Gimli, who have invested in, with federal and provincial dollars, to upgrade their sewage systems and their water treatment plants and putting in new lines throughout their community. We're seeing that as well in Arborg. And it is important that communities continue to lead on this. And so it comes down to that, and I believe that this is a wake-up call for all of us. And so that, the city of Winnipeg, the province of Manitoba, and the Trudeau government, for as long as they are in power, for who knows how much longer, come to the table to make this happen. And I can tell you that as a member of Parliament for Selkirk here in Lake Eastman, this has been a priority of mine and will continue to be until we actually see municipal wastewater and sewage infrastructure upgrades to a level that we are protecting the lake.
MP Bezan, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today here on the show.
I appreciate it very much.
That's James Bezan. He is the Conservative MP for Selkirk, Interlake, Eastman. He was speaking to Radio Noon host Marjorie Dowhos.